1953, my family started a small business in Verona, PA. I bought it from my father. The other part of that story is I had two other brothers in this, and everybody, my father said, I'm not going to give it to you. You're going to have to buy it. And so my two brothers opted out. I went to the youngest one, they went to the second, then he came to me. He said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I'll take it. I said, how much do you want for it? He told me. I said, okay, fine. So I'll make payments to you each month. He goes, no, you're not making payments to me. I'm not a bank. Go find somebody who's willing to lend you money. Your mother and I worked all our lives to build this. I am not going to put my future in your hands, especially at this age. So I said, okay, I'll go and borrow the money. There's nothing easier to do in good times than borrow money. There's nothing harder to do than make the payments when times get tough. So when you look at our committee, we have so much responsibility. It's not power, it's responsibility and jurisdiction in so many different ways. So when Beth came on board, we looked at who we are, and I think we had this discussion with a few of you this morning. When I look at the Republican Party and the diversity, this has nothing to do with gender, it has nothing to do with color of skin, it has everything to do with talent. And we are knee-deep in talent, and we are knee-deep in people that have actually walked the walk before they talk the talk. They've actually been through it. Their life has not been easy. They have faced on every challenge they have, and they have survived. That's who you want here. That's who we need here. And so I am so blessed. First of all, my wife of 50 years. I don't know how she's done it. I mean, no, I'm serious about that. Listen. You know, the power behind married couples is mom and the wife. I mean, they're the ones that are really the glue. And you know, our kids are fine, but just being able to go through the hardest times and sometimes face payroll, where you're able to pay everybody on payroll, but not yourself, and there's nobody to go to because you're strung out. You got to go through those things before you can make policy. I just think it's crucial. I have a friend that told me, listen, what we really need is people that have been fired at least once from a job. Right? And had to work on a commission-only basis. So you don't get paid a salary, you get paid a commission on what you produce, and it's a percentage of what you produce. Those are the people that are the drivers of our economy. Those are the people that really make up who we are. So listen, I could go on forever, and you all know that. Matthew knows this. So no, I still think I'm in the car business, so I'm trying to find out features and that add benefits for you and a price you can afford with very little money down for 70-some months. It sounds like the government. So this is a perfect fit for me, but thank you all for being here. Jimmy, this is an incredible group that you put together. When I see all these faces that I've grown accustomed to seeing over the years, this is a solid group. So thank you so much for your input. You guys are just invaluable to all of us. So thanks so much. God bless everybody. Now, Beth Van Duyne, you are up.
I might never heard that one before. You could go on forever, but here's the difference between you and some of our colleagues. I could listen to you forever. He sits like right above me on the dais, and you just hear this voice of God come down when he starts to speak. And I've never seen you read a speech. I mean, I've got notes. Like here's my speech, right? But whenever he gets up, it's like very, he starts out with a good story. He gets you involved, he gets you engaged, he gets you feeling comfortable, and then, man, you get on fire. Man, you did a little bit this morning, but I have seen him blasting, and you make a great point. And you may not know this, but you have been like one of my biggest mentors since I got here. You probably don't remember the first meeting that we had, but it was in your office, and I heard that story about Boehner, and I learned from it because basically you get up here and you're going to be told no all the time. Like, don't take that for an answer. And the fact that you got up and walked out, I almost did that the other day, but it's not important. I do that almost every day. But I think it's important to have that gumption. And you mentioned I was the first woman who was elected. Irving, Texas is one of the 100 largest cities in the country, 250,000 people, headquarters of ExxonMobil, Kimberly-Clark, Commercial Metals, go on and on DFW Airport. But part of the reason why I won, I got outspent. That had nothing to do with me being a woman, by the way. It literally had nothing to do with me being a woman. And I was the only woman who's ever been mayor of the city of Irving, not just the first, but ever. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with when I was on city council, I was often, if we had, it was 9 members on the council, including the mayor. And if there was like one vote that was like against what the rest of them were doing, it was mine. I will tell you, I don't mind standing on my own for what I believe in, and it has never hurt me politically. It has never hurt me politically. And I got outspent 8-1 in that race. That guy spent over $1.6 million on a mayor's race, and I got outspent that much. But I just kept like fighting and tackling. And to me, it was about representing people. You get out in the community and you talk to people. It was always a ground game for me, and it still is. You know, people are like, oh God, you're in Congress, you've got to run every 2 years. You're campaigning all the time. No, it's called doing your job. Like, it's not campaigning to get out and talk to people. We just had a tax roundtable. A tax week a couple of weeks ago in my district, and I sat down with business owners. We had tours of their companies. It's not just for a photo op. It's that in order for us to be able to represent our district, we need to know what's going on in the district. What are the companies that are in our district? What are their pains? Commercial Metals is a perfect example. When I was on city council, when I was mayor, they were really engaged, even at the local level, which I really highly recommend all of you get engaged, not just in DC, not just at the state, but with your local level officials. One, because they can actually help. They can be your voices in Congress. They're probably your most influential and cheapest lobbyists, okay? So use them. But 2, you never know where they're going to go after they leave that position. So have that friendly relationship. But when you talk to them, you see it through their eyes. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. When you're there and you get to talk to a coworker, just who happens to randomly be in the hallway, you see it from their perspective. You see it from their client's perspective as well. This was really very helpful to me to find out from Commercial Metals over 10 years ago, some of the trade issues that they're having with Mexico, trade issues that they're having with Turkey, and how the US, our government, is actually working against businesses, that we are favoring not having us be globally competitive, but we're favoring what's going on overseas because we put all of these straps of regulations and taxes and burdens on our domestic companies and totally let international companies that do business with us go scot-free. How do you learn that? It's nothing that you're just going to pick up from the paper, God knows, because according to most media, businesses are bad, right? Corporations are horrible. They never put a face on a corporation, but corporations that pay people, that have benefits, retirement, that actually invest in our economy, help our run our country, they're bad. So you're not going to read about it, but how do you find out about it? It's talking to people. So I really enjoy that. And what I've been hearing is, why are you strapping us? Some of the focuses that I have, and this is again from the time that I was on council for 6 years, mayor for 6 years. It's working on our businesses and investing in that dream. Recognizing that in Irving, for example, three quarters of our tax base was paid for by our businesses. So 3/4 of our police, our fire, our streets, our rec centers, our libraries were paid for by business taxes. Why did we have one of the largest growing and fastest growing communities in the country? Because we recognized that. We recognized that regulations strangle. We recognize that you have to have a positive working relationship, because what does it do? One, it pays for 3/4 of our tax base. So people felt like they had a safe, growing, vibrant community based on the money that you'll be able to invest into it. But the other thing that it did was it allowed people to have opportunities for jobs, wide range of jobs. And when you think about what Texas represents right now, and I'll give Florida some credit too. I mean, I hate to do that, but I'll give Florida some credit too. But you think about the beacons that are Texas and Florida to the rest of the country right now. A report just came out the other day. Texas has had 26 consecutive months of job growth. It's not by accident. It is not by accident at all. It's because we're focused on investing in those businesses, on recognizing that you have to have a positive work environment. So when I, fought my way to come to Congress, it was not an easy race. I thought I got outspent my mayor's race. We're talking $26 million, I think, was spent in a race. It's crazy. That said, fought my way here. I looked at all of the committees, and people always ask you when you're a candidate, so what committee do you want to get on? I have no idea. Let me win first. Right? I mean, and by the way, just because it's a name of a committee doesn't necessarily mean that that's what the committee does. So, and let me figure out who the members are on that committee that I really want to work with. Kevin Brady, phenomenal. Really, he was back up here a couple of weeks ago, but he has been a phenomenal member of Congress. He has been a great delegation head for Texas, and really miss him. But we talked, and I said, "Tell me more about what you do," and he actually loves you too. So I don't know. You probably knew that already, but
A different kind of love. But
he definitely told me to talk to you. So
Yeah.
when I think about everything that we do on Ways and Means and how that affects, specifically District 24 in Texas, it was without a doubt the one committee that I really, really fought to get on. The other committee that I fought to get on is small business. And I know Boehner snubbed his nose at that. He told me that. And I said, I'm sorry, but when I go home, people know that I'm on small business, and they love the fact that I'm on small business. And there is so much overlap between what we do in small business and what we do in Ways and Means. And Jason Smith is really kind of holding that up. And this is the group that we need to focus on. And this is the group that we need to help, because they are being raped right now. When you think about all of the issues that are going on, all the policies that are coming out of this White House, the group that needs the most help is small businesses. We all rely on them. And by the way, I am going to have to buy a car this weekend, and I'd love to buy it from you, but Roger Williams would kill me. So thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
I guess my question would be, what are the guardrails and priorities that you feel like the committee has when looking at this package? And then secondly, what are your own personal, I guess, goals or desires to see in the outcome of that package?
I don't know that there's anybody harder working than Jason Smith. I went to see him the other day, and I said, and Lori was with me. I said, hey, listen, I don't want you to take this the wrong way. But in addition to you, there's a lot of members on the committee. And I don't know, he's working so hard, and his goals are set for where he wants to go. And I think that the talent on that committee is so deep and so diverse. The only thing when we were there, where I said, you know what, you need to back off a little bit and let some other people actually help. And I think that what we're trying to do now, I think that a reporter stopped me the other day and said, so are you disappointed at the lack of the position that you have on tax policy? I said, why would I be disappointed? He said, well, there's a lot of people saying that Jason is doing it the wrong way. And I said, well, they're not the chairman of the committee, are they? And they're not members of the committee, are they? He goes, well, that's not. I wanted to ask you the question. I said, you're asking the wrong guy. I play for this team. I think we're going the right direction. I tell you the one thing that I think Jason has done that really brings the government to America. We went to Petersburg, West Virginia. This is the middle of nowhere. Seriously, we go there, and that town, maybe a town of a couple thousand people, they had never seen anybody from Washington before. And the other side of it, nobody from Washington had ever seen them. Nobody ever saw where they live. Nobody saw where they get their groceries. Nobody saw where they get their gasoline. Nobody saw the schools that their kids go to, because we live here, and this is such a bubble that we think this is America. This is not America. So by going to where we're going right now, we go to Oklahoma and go to a ranch, and we have a meeting there. And the room is filled with people who've never seen people from Washington before. And so I think that what Jason's trying to do, and what he's done so well, is to take Washington to America and show people that we actually understand what it is that they're going through. And we understand this committee. I always think, you know what, if we can't agree on things that are pro-growth, I am tired. And I got to tell you, from being an automobile dealer, you never stop paying somebody something. And I told people during the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we were trying to work it up. And Chairman Brady said, Mike, do you have anything to offer? I said, yeah, actually, Chairman, there was 3 years since I've been in business, I haven't paid a penny in income tax. And somebody says, how the hell did you do that? I said, we lost money. We only pay taxes on profit. And then you have a government that puts a heavy load on you. And it's like, don't worry about the mule, just load the wagon. And they want to penalize you for everything you do and take a big cut of something they never had anything to do with and continue to do that to you. They do it to you at this level. They do it to you at the state level. They do it to you at the local level. Every time you go to buy something, they tax everything that we buy. And it's just amazing to me that they wonder then, what's the problem, America? I said, the problem is you're not America. You're never in those towns. You're never in those states. You're never in those businesses. You're never there. When payroll comes due and you look in the bank account and you say, oh my God. My answer to that was always take like a dozen used cars and take them out and sell them and lose money on every one of them, but have enough money to put in the checking account that I could make payroll. So people from the private sector do things that people here have no idea. That's not a criticism, by the way, okay? That's not a criticism. So we talk about having kids. I talk about kids all the time because I got 10 of them. You know, every one of my grandchildren, they come to our house. I said, and this is from the time they're little. Now, you've all experienced this, right? So they'll come in and we're in the kitchen. I'll say, hey, whatever you do, don't touch that stove. It's hot. You'll get burned. Now, do you know what kids have no experience with? Getting burnt. So they have to touch the hot stove. And they said, I told you not to touch it. What the hell's wrong with you? Don't touch it again. And then I look at a government that continues to keep turning up the heat on the stove and keeps telling us, put your hand on the stove and keep getting burnt because we're doing everything for you that we can. And they really are. So listen, I get so fired up about this stuff because I know who pays for everything. Taxpayers. So, but Bethy's been through the same thing. I think it's just amazing the background that you came from. My race never cost that much. In fact, the dealerships never made that much, which is kind of more disturbing. But yeah, give your version of this.
Well, I mean, you talk about like getting burned. Like, I still can't understand that anybody would think, who's the 30% that, of Biden's approval rating? Like, have you not been burned enough to figure this out by now? You asked what our priorities are. Look, I'm from the state of Texas. Lots of energy companies, a lot of tangential businesses rely on our energy industry. And I'd argue we all do. I don't care if you're getting a package, there's some way it's going to have to get to you and somebody's having to spend energy. But looking at that market and seeing how much, HR1 was a great start. Let's face it, we all know where that's going. Senate is not going to pick that up, and in the Biden administration, which has been completely demonizing American energy, is not going to sign that. But we're going to keep fighting for that. That's number one. If you think about inflation and what's caused it, that was probably the number one thing from day one of Biden's administration. So we're going to be looking at energy policy. We're going to be looking at taxes that are like supply side taxes. We're looking at tax policy that has made us not competitive globally. And making sure that we're bringing those manufacturing jobs back. What worked? TCJA, right? I mean, you had Obama just a couple years saying, oh, what kind of a magic wand is he going to find? Policy matters. TCJA, in all of the criticism that it got, did wonders. And again, talking like Western Excursions, which is in the district, they were able to tell me this is what happened when we had TCJA. We actually did bring more employees and more business back to the states. We were able to invest in these employees and able to invest in expansion because of that. This is going away now. And to your point about Jason Smith having us go out and really see America, the amazing thing is, no matter where we have gone in the country, no matter what industries have been represented, they all say the same thing. We're having a hard time hiring people. We are having a hard time with inflationary costs. We are having a hard time with supply chain issues. And above and beyond, we are having the hardest time keeping up with regulations. When we have these hearings, small business, we had a guy who held up a 3-ring binder. He said, this is the regulations you guys are talking about passing. If you pass this, I go out of business. I don't have a legal department. I don't have a team that's going to help me figure this out. Why are you doing this? This does nothing for safety. It does nothing for competitiveness. It is just another burden that you're putting on us. So looking at ways to be able to hit on regulations, and also holding these agencies accountable. You think about what's going on with the IRS, right? I mean, that's been one of our focus. I hear from small businesses, they're coming after me. This is not big corporations. We had yelling in front of our committee just a couple of months ago. And that woman has absolutely no idea what's going on. I mean, yesterday in conference, she's using a Ouija board to come up with this June 1st dateline, right? I mean, show your work. But she had no idea that higher taxes were affecting people who make over $400,000. Like, have you seen what's going on with inflation alone? Those are things that we're having to attack. And the global competitiveness. When you think about what some of these agencies are doing, I think we should cut them off. I mean, I don't even know where to start, but OECD is a good start. All right. I mean, what they're trying to do on their pillar 2 with making us all have to pay a global tax. Why would you give money to Europe as an American company? Why would we give that away? Those things make absolutely no sense. So focus on taxes that make businesses able to work more efficiently, more effectively. Looking at R&D, because we want to be, innovators in America. So it's making sure that we're extending those tax credits to incentivize businesses to continue to do that. China is not an innovator. They copy. But we are going to be having the solutions in our country as long as we recognize that benefit and we help the businesses to do that.
Two questions for you. One is, I think Ways and Means, obviously because of the debt ceiling talks have gone longer and they're going on for a while. You're maybe having a meeting later today where you're going to get some ideas of what you want to see in this tax package. So I'm just curious of your sense of timing when we're going to be able to see some of the things that you're thinking about putting in this economic growth package. And the second goes to your point about Pillar 2 and what Treasury is doing. I understand Ways and Means is having a delegation of members, including the chairman, go to Europe and deliver that message directly to the French and to the Germans that what they're doing is wrong and does not have congressional approval. Curious, just kind of the level of vehemence and the things that you guys can do to kind of further that message to the Europeans and to the OECD and to our own Treasury Department. Thanks.
He's gonna have a much better answer. I'm still trying to figure out where the bathrooms are. Honestly, what can we do? One, we can continue to point it out. 2, we can hold these agencies accountable because they have gotten completely out of control. 3, we can focus on passing policies that actually help. And when I talk about policies that help, that again, the green new tax credits. When we look at who is coming up with these numbers, that's like over 3 times what they thought that was going to be. And where are those dollars going? We did nothing to put on any kind of safeguards. They're going directly to China. And again, taxpayer dollars are being spent on that. Not on helping our infrastructure, not on helping our national security, not on our border, but they're going to China. And we warn over and over again that this is going to happen. Policies, I continue to say, matter. So focused on making sure that we are explaining ourselves. These field hearings, I think, are doing a wonderful job because we're getting out there. And the amazing thing is the witnesses, when you come to DC and you're having these meetings like, in our formal chambers, and Ways and Means chamber is intimidating as all hell. I mean, admit it. It is one of the biggest rooms. You're sitting down here as the witness and you've got, the members up here over you, all the cameras on you. When we go out in the field hearings, these witnesses are in their own backyard. They've got their employees, their family, their friends behind them. And they are so empowered to actually tell us what they're thinking. So, it's stressful in all of our schedules, to get to places like Oklahoma City, which I love. Don't tell Kevin Hur I said that. But, going out and going to these places, it is a little bit time consuming. But just the fact that the witnesses that are able to answer those questions and punch back, this is what we're seeing and this is what we're hearing. Being able to go out and tell that message. Republicans, look, historically have had a difficult time messaging. We're independent thinkers, God forbid. We all have a different reason for coming to some of the decisions that we come to, but making sure that we're on the same page, that, our Limit, Save, Grow Act was one example of positive policy. Holding the line and working together as a team is going to have to be front and center. So I am encouraged by what I've seen in Congress so far. I know a lot of people didn't think that we'd be able to get where we've gotten so far. I'm encouraged by that, but we have to hold the line and we've got to stay together as a team. So that's maybe not the answer that you want, but that's probably the biggest hurdle that we've got to face.
No, that's absolutely true. So when we talk tax policy, there's very few people in business that do their own taxes. And why don't they do that? What's complicated, but it's also fear of the most powerful agency in our government coming in and taking over. So yeah, with the IRS, I mean, if you've not been through these things, if you've not had them come in and completely disrupt your business model because they come first on everything, they pull people who are productive off a job to come in and find out exactly. I mean, this stuff is so intrusive, and this government has grown so big and so powerful. And if you have to go out and hire legal help, you don't have a freaking chance against these guys. They've got an army coming after you, and you maybe can afford one person to try and give you advice. So when we talk about what are we trying to do with tax policy, I think the most important thing for people, who the hell understands it? We rely on tax accountants and tax lawyers and all these people to interpret for us what it is that the government's here to do. No, it's okay. I mean, everybody hates lawyers except theirs. I mean, you gotta have somebody that you like, and a lot of it. And I hate to bring that up that way, but it's true. It's true. But tax policy, Rob. How can the greatest nation the world's ever known, the most innovative nation the world's ever known, the most creative nation the world's ever known, the first responder to anything that's bad happens in the world, be constantly under the looking glass says, what are you guys not paying for? I am so sick and tired of we just want people to pay their fair share. It makes you want to go and throw up. So when we have tax, Derek does a really good job. We don't have an army of people on tax policy. Derek does these one-on-ones. So he comes in and he talks about what we're going to do. It's very complicated. And so a lot of it, I mean, because Beth and I sit there and there's a lot of times I say, would you do me a favor? Would you just speak to us in everyday speech as opposed to tax speech? Because it's impossible. And if I would love to take Lori to the meetings with us, but you're not allowed to take any of your staff with you because they're afraid there's going to be a leak. And I said, I've been here for 12 years. This place is a sieve. Have the people that actually know what it is that you're working on in the room with you so you can talk about it later on. But look, listen, there's nobody wondering what's happened in America right now. The biggest hindrance to our success is our own government at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level. And they're insatiable in this appetite of spending money. When I first got here, people tell me, you're screwed up. You don't understand. The government can't work the way the private sector works. And I said, no, you've got it screwed up. The private sector could never work the way the government works. And if we don't flip that and understand that the people that we put the heaviest burden on are the people that pay to keep this thing going, there's something wrong. There's a mental illness in this town. And when we get out in the countryside and we talk to real people who do real things for real reasons every day, it's enlightening. It's enlightening. So look, when it comes to tax policy, look, I wish we were doing a lot more in our subcommittee. That's no secret, right? I sit beside David Schweikert, and if you know David Schweikert, there's a guy, if you've watched this guy talk, he looks like a first base coach or a third base coach. His hands are flying all over the place. So, but he is so sharp, and he is a chartist. He has more charts than everything. So when I sat beside him, I said, you know what? Let's just try to do things together. Let's talk to Jason, you in oversight, me in tax policy. Let's bring the smartest tax people in, and let you bring in your charts and your dynamic approach to all this, and let's figure it out. But I would just tell you this. If we keep doing what we're doing, it's incredible. My question is, and I have this question all the time. I talk to Lori about it. I talk to Kevin about it. Where's the freaking outrage in America? Where is the outrage? Where are people standing up and saying, you know what? I am fed up with this. I said, well, then don't stay seated. Get up and get going. Get registered. Be influential with your friends. The most important thing is get educated. Is get educated. And I think the best line I've ever heard out of any movie is in A Few Good Men, where Jack Nicholson's being questioned. And they're trying to get at him, and he says, you can't handle the truth. That's America. That's America. And what? And I got to tell you, listen, I come from an Irish Catholic family, right? You know that. After Mass on Sunday, we'd go to my Grandma Kelly's. 2 pictures in her dining room. One of the Lord, the other of FDR. And they constantly got them mixed up, which one was God. When you grow up in that environment, and the environment I grew up in, the rich people were the Republicans. The working people were the Democrats. And so the challenge today is for people to take a real look at both parties and find out which one is working for the blue-collar worker. Which one is out of touch with America and with the world? So we talk about all this stuff. Ralphie, I'm going to tell you guys, you all, talking with us makes it possible for us to talk to them. And I think that's the key to it. So listen, I don't get wrapped around the axle on tax policy. I've never done my own taxes. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to take a chance of screwing it up. I'm good at figuring out the value of a car. I'm good at looking at accounts receivable. I'm looking at accounts payable, and I'm looking at cash outside the business. And I'm looking at the 6th and the 21st of every month, not because they're my favorite days, but they're paydays. So that's what I do. And that's what I've always done. But then coming here and watching how this works, I said, wow, we have so many people doing so few things to tax so many people. It's just an incredible thing. The mismatch is just outstanding. Listen, I know we can go on with stuff forever, but I got to tell you, if America doesn't wake up, I tell people, forget about being woke. Wake the hell up. Get involved in what's going on in your community. And listen, when we meet with people, like we go out and talk to people, the most important elected position in any community is a member of the public school board. I was on a school board for 4 years. Public to be heard. Every meeting. Number 1, we got the dumbest ass coaching our football team. He doesn't realize how good my kid is. He's a quarterback, but he hasn't played second team guard. Those guys will come in all the time. Say, okay, fine, got it done. How about the basketball coach? He's not worth a crap either. Then we go to bus routes, right? My brother-in-law, they pick his kids up right at the end of their driveway. My kid's got to walk all the way to the end of the street to get a bus. Okay, fine. We'll see what we can do about it. And then the last thing was taxes. What do you think their complaint was? Too high. Too high. Nobody ever questions, what do they buy? Nobody ever questioned the textbook. Nobody ever questioned the curriculum. So if you want to know why we have a group of young people growing up today that have been fed by the left for so long, they never even glance to the right. They swallow that stuff and they believe in it. And so our biggest challenge is actually getting there. So tax policy, look, I don't know of anybody that loves paying taxes. But we have to have it. We have to have revenue. But this outfit is crazy. It's crazy.
Your question.